One of the most unique and powerful features of KRFT is its customizable interaction and timeline synchronization. Understanding how these settings work will enable you to get the most out of the app. The first thing I want to look at is interaction. I've covered this in other videos, but let's quickly recap. I have two cells here, one set to toggle and one set to hold. The filled-in cell toggles on and off when I tap it, whereas the outline cell only plays when I hold it down. This is quite a simple concept, but very powerful for jamming and live experimentation. Other cells like morphs and audio cells also follow similar rules. Now let's talk about synchronization. This setting dictates how the loop lines up with other loops that are playing. If I play the top loop, you'll see that when I start and stop the bottom loop, it will stay in sync, as though I'm just muting and unmuting it. This is because its synchronization is set to master. If set to master, the loop will synchronize with the longest playing loop, such that their origins match up. Let's have a look at this diagram. If loop A is playing with its origin at bar 1, beat 1, then I start loop B at beat 3. Now, because loop B's sync is set to master, this will mean that its origin will align with loop A's origin. In fact, it makes no difference when I start loop B. It will always align itself to loop A. If we set the other loop going and have a look in the matrix, we'll be able to see this in action. So let's try setting this loop synchronization to 1/16. This will mean that it synchronizes its origin to the next 1/16th note on the master clock. If we look at this diagram, you can see the difference between sync master and sync 1/16th. If set to sync 1/16th, loop B's origin will always be positioned on the next 1/16th note on the master clock. Again, it's easier to see in the matrix. So as you could see, with sync 1/16th, the loop will always start from its own beginning. This is great for drum fills, adding in extra bits of melodies, or even creating a keyboard made from multiple cells on your surface. Sync master is typically what you want to use for loops, as it will keep them in time with each other, but try experimenting with other setups. Next, we'll look at Q. Q controls when the timeline will turn on and off. By default, this is set to 1/16th, which means it will start on the next 1/16th interval on the master timeline, almost instantly. If we look at this diagram, we can compare Q 1/16th with Q 1/4. In both scenarios, loop B is synchronized to master, but their Q is different. The green and red lines represent when I start and stop the loop, and the arrows show when the start or stop is pushed forward to. The areas highlighted in white are the parts of the loop that will be played. As you can see in the top example, if Q is 1/16th, it will start and stop on the next 1/16th interval of the master clock. Whereas if Q is set to 1/4, the loop will wait until the next 1/4 interval before it starts or stops. Let's look at an example. This drum loop is set to sync master in Q 1/16th. When I press play, it almost immediately starts playing, and when I press stop, it also stops quickly. If I change the Q to 1 bar, you'll see that it will wait until the start of the next bar before it starts the loop, and the same for when it stops. Q1 can be very useful if you want a loop to turn on at the start of the next bar, but you don't want to worry about having to time it correctly. Usually you'll want to use 1/16th Q as it's the most responsive, but in some cases alternative settings are preferable. That's it for this video. Hopefully now you have a better grasp of the synchronization and cue settings. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. Check out our other videos to learn more about Craft. Thanks for watching.